And happy Tuesday. This is Coach Joy and Conversations with the Coach at Center for Peace. I'm coming today live to talk about cute little abusive language that abusive men use to try to cover up the degree and the depth of the things that they do. We talk about this a lot when we talk about, when they talk about a mistake, and it was just a mistake. Well, ongoing patterns of behavior are not mistakes. Just like when they exaggerate, that's still a lie, right? So you can say, oh yeah, well, I was just exaggerating or making, I made a big deal of it, and I shouldn't have, it was just an exaggeration. Or when they try to say something like, to reverse it and to put it on you and say, well, you are just so sensitive and you can't take a joke. You need to lighten up a little bit. All of these different kinds of ways that abusive men try to cute up the language and make it look like, it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal. And you can make something sound cute, and maybe that's your story and you want to stick to it. But the truth is, abuse is abuse no matter what you want to call it. And I say this all the time, just about the labels that we use. I do believe that words matter. It matters what we say to one another. It matters the language that we use. Um, I'm not one who, with my clients, will minimize language. I like to use very strong terms because this is very egregious behavior. But in contrast to that, men will try to use kind of cute talk and make it seem like it really isn't a big deal because they're trying to normalize the behavior. They're trying to make it look like, we're the ones who have a problem with it and nobody else has a problem with it. It's also one of the reasons why abusive men tend to uh, try to get ahead of the story too. And one of the reasons that they're out there with their flying monkeys is so that the flying monkeys will support the story and will see that, oh, your wife she's just controlling. No, she's making a big deal of it. It isn't really that big of a deal, and you don't get concerned about it. And so they get their support system, to get ahead of the story so that in the event that you actually get brave and speak up, you will be put back down into your place and you will be quieted. And that's what I call a gag order. That's a social gag order. And a lot of times the reason that those gag orders are there is so that he can hide his behavior underneath victim blaming. And victim blaming is really one of the most egregious things that we have to deal with within our social communities, within our church groups, even in our families and our friend groups. Victim blaming it's a serious issue. Sometimes we put the gag order on ourselves because we're not safe. We don't feel safe communicating, and that's our right as a human being to be able to decide, what we say and what we don't say. At Center for Peace, one of the things that I tell my clients all the time is stand in your authority and stand in your story. You know the truth, regardless of what the abuser, is saying about it. He's trying to protect himself. He has no interest in protecting you. So he has no interest in the truth. And that is one of the issues that victims will face, is learning to wrestle with the narrative. When we are we're trying to understand what's going on. Wives are trying to save their marriages. Wives really would like the men to just please own what you've done. Just please acknowledge it. Just humbly own it. Have some compassion for me for what you did, rather than trying to make me feel bad for you. This is a real serious social human matter in our world. When we don't take responsibility for the harm that we cause other people, we would be a lot better off if we do more for and with each other than just holding doors open or saying pardon me when we walk in front of people, but really owning the really big harms that happen. we are responsible for each other, and we can either bless one another's lives or we can harm each other's lives. There's a social cost to all of our interactions. There is a social cost. We either burden one another or we bless and lift one another. And those are just facts. Those are just truths. When people are in a social interaction with each other of any kind, there will either be a positive outcome or a negative outcome. And we're all responsible for that. We are responsible for the interactions that we have, but no more important to that construct of our personal responsibility is that truth to an abusive man. He is 100% responsible for the behaviors. And when he tries to conceal them, make them disappear, and hide them, his end goal is to target his partner so that he can feel better about himself. There's something wrong with that kind of thinking, and there's something wrong with a social system that condones that behavior. We do not condone abuse. We should not condone abuse. We should not condone harm caused to another human being. And we should support people who are trying to help put this um, word out there to encourage social responsibility. Social responsibility is a huge, huge issue that we should all be attending to. We need to care about one another. We need to care for one another because we are responsible for one another in this world. We can pretend that we're not. We can pretend that, that we can do whatever we want, that it doesn't impact others. But if any of you that are parents out there that have children that have made some life choices that are difficult, that it impacts you. If you've got a parent or a sibling that have done some things that that have caused hurt or pain, that it impacts you. We're not islands. Things do not happen in a vacuum. They don't happen in isolation. There's a cause and effect condition that we all live in, and our words, our actions, they have an impact on one another. And that is my message today, that if we could just practice goodness and kindness and care for one another, that if we just is just grassroots, it's just bottom up. If we could just spread that message and just live in a world where each of us individually take personal accountability and try to make the world a better place, one by one, we might be able to make small changes in small ways. We might not be able to fix things in the grand scale, but in the small areas where it really matters, in our homes, in our church communities, in our responsibility to and with one another, if we would learn to lift and not to burden, we can make our small worlds within this big world a better place. I hope that for each of you at Center for Peace, that is our goal and our hope and our mission, to help restore the dignity of every human being, to help each other find and be able to live in a world of peace instead of a world of chaos and a world of pain. I hope that all for each of you today, and I send my best wishes and energy out for that today. Have a great day, everyone.